Back then, I was 21 years old, in my junior year at the University of Florida in Gainesville. I was your average college student splitting my time between cramming for exams, attending parties, and trying not to fall apart under the weight of deadlines. At the time, I was dating this girl named Lisa. She had this magnetic presence, the kind of person who always seemed to be in control, with a smile that could charm or cut you, depending on the situation. We started dating in my sophomore year, and at first, everything seemed fine. But as the months went on, she started showing this possessive side, constantly texting, wanting to know where I was, and getting pissed off if I didn't respond fast enough. We broke up at the end of the semester after a huge fight over a text I sent to a girl from my biology class. Lisa disappeared for a while after that, and I thought I was done with her for good. Turns out, I couldn't have been more wrong. The night it all started, I was in the computer lab on campus, trying to finish up a stats assignment. It was almost midnight, and the building was pretty much empty, except for me and two random guys I didn't recognize. Everything was fine until I got a text on my phone. It was from a blocked number, and it read, "I miss you, Nick. Do you miss me?" My heart started pounding instantly. There was no doubt in my mind that it was Lisa. I told myself it was just a prank, but 20 minutes later, another text came through. This time, it was a photo of me, sitting in that very computer lab. Someone had taken it just minutes earlier from outside the window. I froze. I glanced out at the parking lot through the glass, but all I could see was the empty lot and the glare of the fluorescent lights reflecting back at me. I tried to brush it off as a coincidence maybe, some stupid joke by one of the guys in the lab, but I couldn't shake the unease creeping up my spine. My fingers hovered over my keyboard, but my focus was shot, and I heard it. A soft knock on the window. It was faint, almost hesitant, but it sent a jolt through me. I turned my head slowly, expecting to see nothing but my own reflection. But there she was, Lisa. She was standing outside in the dark, her face lit by the glow of her phone screen. She was smiling, but it wasn't the playful smile I remembered from when we dated. It was cold, twisted, like she was enjoying the panic written all over my face. I froze, unsure of what to do. Before I could even react, my phone buzzed again. Another text. "Aren't you going to let me in, Nick? We need to talk." My stomach sank. I quickly looked around the lab for help, but the two guys who'd been there earlier were gone. It was just me now. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door, thinking I could slip out the back and avoid her altogether. But as I stepped into the dimly lit hallway, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was footage of me walking out of the lab just seconds ago, filmed from right behind me. I didn't waste time trying to figure out how she'd managed to record me. I just started walking faster, heading toward the main exit of the building. The hallways were eerily quiet, and the sound of my footsteps echoed down the empty corridor. I could hear the faint hum of the vending machines near the entrance, but as I turned the last corner, I saw her again. She was standing by the doors, blocking my only way out. This time, she wasn't smiling. She held something in her hand, a small, glinting object that I quickly realized was a knife. She didn't say anything, just stood there watching me, like she was daring me to make a move. I backed up slowly, trying to figure out another way to get out. The stairwell was my only option, so I turned and ran for it. As I pushed through the heavy door, I heard her footsteps behind me. She was following me, her pace quick and deliberate. I bolted up the stairs, skipping steps, trying to put as much distance between us as possible. The building was old, and the stairwell felt claustrophobic, with its narrow walls and dim emergency lights. I made it to the second floor, where I knew there was a fire escape, but as I turned the corner, I stopped dead in my tracks. The fire escape door was chained shut, a padlock dangling from the handle. I spun around, hearing her footsteps getting closer. There wasn't much time to think, so I darted into one of the classrooms on the second floor, quietly shutting the door behind me. The room was dark, with only the faint glow of streetlights coming through the windows. I crouched low, sliding behind a row of desks, and tried to steady my breathing. The door handle rattled seconds later, and I knew she was outside. She didn't try to force it open. Instead, there was silence. That kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's pressing down on you, making every second unbearable. Then I heard her voice. "Nick," she called out, soft but clear. "You can't keep hiding from me. You know this is your fault, right?" Her tone was calm, almost conversational, and that somehow made it worse. I stayed frozen, trying not to make a sound. After a moment, the doorknob stopped moving, and I thought maybe she'd walked away. But then I heard a faint scraping sound, like metal dragging against the frame. She was still there, waiting. I realized then that she wasn't going to leave until she got to me. I knew staying put wasn't an option. The room only had one door, and she was right outside. My eyes darted around, searching for anything I could use to defend myself. A heavy wooden chair caught my attention. I grabbed it, moving as quietly as I could, and positioned myself near the door. I had no idea what I was doing, but I wasn't about to wait for her to corner me. The scraping stopped, and everything went silent again. Just when I thought she might have left, the door swung open with a sudden force. There she stood, the knife glinting in her hand, her face twisted with a mixture of anger and something else I couldn't quite place, almost like she was enjoying this. I didn't wait for her to speak or move. I swung the chair as hard as I could, hitting her arm. The knife clattered to the floor as she let out a sharp cry. I didn't stick around to see what she'd do next. I bolted past her and into the hallway, my legs moving faster than I thought possible. I heard her behind me, picking up the knife and yelling, "You can't run forever, Nick." Her voice echoed down the hallway, sending a chill down my spine. My only thought was to get out of the building. I burst through the main stairwell door and took the steps two at a time, my sneakers slamming against the concrete. The sound of her footsteps wasn't far behind. She wasn't yelling anymore, which somehow made it worse. I hit the ground floor and bolted toward the main exit, praying she wasn't fast enough to catch me. When I shoved open the doors, the cool Florida night air hit me, and for a split second, I thought I was safe. But then I caught a glimpse of her in the reflection of a nearby window. She was right behind me, knife in hand, her movements unnervingly steady. There was a security booth near the parking lot entrance, and I sprinted toward it like my life depended on it, because it did. I could see the guard sitting inside, half asleep, a small TV glowing in front of him. I banged on the glass, yelling for help. The guard jolted awake, his eyes widening when he saw me. Before he could react, Lisa appeared behind me. She stopped a few feet away, her knife now hidden, and put on this sickly sweet smile. "Is everything okay?" she asked, tilting her head like she was genuinely concerned. I turned to the guard, gasping for air, trying to explain what had happened, but Lisa cut me off. "He's just drunk," she said, laughing a little. "We're dating, and he's had a rough night." The guard looked back and forth between us, clearly confused. "Sir, is that true?" he asked, his hand inching toward a radio on his desk. I shook my head, still catching my breath. "No, she's lying. She's trying to kill me." My voice was desperate, maybe even a little frantic, but I didn't care. Lisa kept up her act, stepping closer with her hands raised as if to calm the situation. "Nick, you're embarrassing yourself," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Let's just go home and talk this out." That's when I noticed her sleeve. It was torn from where I'd hit her with the chair, and a dark stain of blood was spreading down her arm. The guard must have noticed it too, because his expression changed. He reached for his radio, but Lisa moved faster than either of us expected. She lunged at him, pulling the knife from her waistband. I don't think she even cared about me anymore. She just wanted to eliminate the witness. I didn't wait to see what would happen. While she was distracted, I ran toward the parking lot, fumbling for my keys. I could hear shouting behind me, but I didn't look back. My hands were trembling so badly that I almost dropped my keys as I unlocked my car. I threw myself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and locked it. My heart was pounding so hard. It felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. As I started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw her. Lisa was sprinting toward my car, the knife still in her hand. Her face was twisted in rage now, all traces of the sweet, manipulative mask completely gone. I didn't wait. I floored it, tearing out of the parking lot so fast my tires screeched. I caught one last glimpse of her standing in the lot, illuminated by the dim campus lights. She wasn't chasing me anymore, but she wasn't giving up either. She just stood there, staring as I sped away, her silhouette growing smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. I didn't stop driving until I was halfway across town, pulling into a 24-hour diner parking lot to catch my breath. I called the police from there, finally feeling like I had some distance between us. When they arrived, I told them everything about the texts, the knife, her breaking into the building. But by the time they searched the campus, Lisa was gone. They found the guard unconscious in the booth, but alive, his radio smashed and blood on the floor. She disappeared without a trace, and as far as I know, they never caught her.